Hello, I'm old Mr. Kent, and I'm 82 years old on my morning E-trike ride. And I get a frog in my throat every time I start to talk. Now I got my friendly dogs to contend with as we go along, but I think that'll be all right. So, got a couple of things to cover in this video. First of all, I have to explain, if you were watching my 47 videos on my life story, I said I covered a couple of these things, but never in detail. And so I'm going to go back to some of the things I talked about and talk about those. Also, when I get down here somewhere where we're not going to have people stopping and asking us questions, I'm going to show you a little bit of seat maintenance that I did on the seat of my electric XP trike, which I really do like. It's one of the, well, when I bought it, before I bought it, I had watched a bunch of reviews, and this was about a year ago, a little over a year ago, when e-trikes were just becoming popular. And I watched a review and decided this would be, for the price, this would be the best one to buy. So we're coming up to a paved road here, and let's see. I suppose I could stop right here. Yeah, let's go around the corner. And, well, I think what I'll do is I'll just pull over right here and show you my seat maintenance that I did. Okay, so if you have a electric XP trike, this might be helpful. Okay, because I did some more to my seat. So we'll pull it out. And come around here. Okay, so the first thing that I ran into was the seat. You put it where you wanted it, and then it would just work its way down. Because this is aluminum, the frame is aluminum, it's not like steel. Aluminum flexes a lot. And so even though you had it as tight as you could get it, it would start sliding. So what I did is I took some 60 grade sandpaper. Naturally, there's going to be dogs barking. And I went like this in the area where I was going to clamp it. And that worked kind of like tire treads, and that kept it from sliding down, okay? So I did that, and that worked. Then also, the backrest kept sliding down. You could tighten that as much as you want, but it kept sliding down. So I got some little 1-inch hose clamps and put hose clamps on it, and then it doesn't slide down anymore. And there's my alarm right there. So the thing I did recently is it kept wanting to push me off the front of the seat when the backrest would, and so it kept wanting to push me off the front of the seat. So what I did, actually my son did it. I said, how can I fix this? So if you look close right here, he first of all he cut the back off, so it came off, and then right here he polished it up a little bit like you should do. But then he took some 4-inch, I think that's 7/16 inch. See, it's all metric. So what he has is, I think it's 7/16 inch hollow tubing, steel, and cut 4-inch lengths. Okay. Then you see that screw right there? That's a self-tapping screw, and that's about a half an inch long. So he self-tapped, screwed the pipe in, and then I could take and I could slide this on the end of the pipe and then get it to where I wanted it. And so I set it back about an inch, and then he put the self-tapping screw in there. And so with a couple of screws, a hacksaw, and a piece of steel, which you can get off of Amazon. I saw where they had some, wasn't rusted like this. For $6 or $7, you could get 2 feet of it, two 1-foot pieces, or you can go to the hardware store. And so now when I'm riding, I don't have it pushing me off the front of the seat. I don't know if you're running into that with yours. But anyway, so that's seat maintenance with the dogs barking. And then we go around on this side. It'll work better. All right. Get in there. And I got a line marked here that I'll put it at. Right about there. And I tighten that up a little bit, and then I square it away with the frame back here, so it's even with that. And then tighten it down, and I'm ready to go. I also tilted the after I did that, I tilted the seat a little bit further back than it was. So this is the first ride I've taken with it. We'll find out if it really helped or not. So, all right. So that's the seat maintenance part. I don't know why the dogs have to keep barking, but this is my morning E-trike ride, and it's the way I like to go. All right, so what else is there? Some things I remembered from college that I didn't include in my life story. Okay, so, and I'm sorry, I'm getting so forgetful. I get my seat adjusted here. Getting so forgetful, but anyway, when I went to college, because my folks, I wanted to go to Bible school. My folks said, no, we're not paying you to go to Bible school, but we'll pay you if you go somewhere else. So they paid my way the first year of college at what is now called Western Washington University. And so I went the first year, ate in the cafeteria, lived in the dorm, and I know it cost them a lot of money, but that's what they said they do. Well, then when summer came, and you've heard this story if you've been following, I went to California to work to help pay for my tuition and all that stuff. And while I was down there, I bought a 60cc, little 60cc motorcycle, because in Bellingham, Washington at that time, you could walk everywhere, but walking took a lot of time, cut into everything else you were having to do. And so while I was down there, I decided I'd get me, it was only, I think it was $185 or something like that. It had been run over by a car, but it ran. And so I got that. So then I go back up to college. Oh, by the way, then my folks, I think they used that as an excuse to get out of the payments. They said, no son of ours is going to ride a motorcycle. So they disowned me for real. And that's another story. Anyway, so I went back to college, and I can remember where I was when I was walking along on the sidewalk after being disowned, and now I'm going to try to go to college on my own. And I had to find all kinds of jobs. And I think I've told you, I went to the dean's office and I said, do you have any kind of list of jobs or anything that a guy can apply to? And he says, here's what I would give you for advice. Boy, I was on the edge of my seat. What? He says, seek and ye shall find. And you know what? That sounds crazy, but that's what I did. So I got a job working in the cafeteria, and that gave me my meals. I got a job working for the audiovisual department, and I don't need to explain that. I guess I do that sometime, but anyway. And then I got a job working for the janitor on Saturdays, and also on between quarters. And so, another dog. And so that's how I managed to get by. And I think, I don't remember, I really don't have a memory, but I assume that my parents, when they sent me to California, had already paid the tuition for a fall quarter. So I think that's because I don't remember having to pay that. All right, so anyway, so I got those jobs, and with the audiovisual department, what I would do is I would load up. See, they had films then. They didn't have what we have now. And so, good morning. And so I would load up this cart with a screen and a projector on the top. Oh no, the screen would be on the bottom, and then whatever film that was, it would be in a metal container, depending upon the size of the film, and you pop the top off, and the reel would be in there, and then you had to have also a take-up reel, and so and I would do that whenever the lady that ran the audiovisual department. She was really nice. She said, "I'll just give you as many jobs as I can," which meant some days well, most of the time, I would show at least 2 films, and sometimes more. And so every time I went to a class to show a film, I made another $1. And there was, like I've said before, I could have a minor degree in psychology because most of the films that I showed were in the psychology classes. And so I would, go up, and I had to sit through the whole class. I'd set the film up, and then when the teacher wanted the film to be shown, then I'd run it. And then when it was over with, I'd shut everything down, and I'd sit through the rest of the class so I wouldn't be disturbing. Well, I had this friend named Ray, and we were kind of nutty guys anyway. I know I was. And he was taking a psychology class, and he knew I did the audio-visual. And he said, "I'm going to do he had a project he had to present to the class. I'm going to do a project where I want to show how people react to other people's problems." And so he said, "What I want you to do is bring up a film and get it all set up, and then when it's time to play, play. But I want you to make a big mistake and do all kinds of things that make it so that you look like a fool." I'm good at that. And he says, and then and then just take off and leave because you're so discouraged, and then I'll prove my point because everybody's going to laugh. Okay, so that's what I did. And so when the day came, I told the audiovisual lady that I needed just a film that wasn't very, that was old or something, never used. And so she gave me that, and I went up there, and I don't remember all the details, but anyway, when it was time for me to run the film, I hadn't loaded it up onto the projector, which was part of the plan. And so he said, "All right, we have a film, and I'd like you to run that now." And of course, then I had to put I'll say it like this. You had a film, you had a reel of film, it ran through the projector and came onto a take-up reel, okay? And so I just sit here and explain it. And so I didn't have it loaded up. So, oh, just a minute. And so I was acting real nervous because I was behind and everything. So I got up there and I was trying to get the film to go through the thing and and up to the other one, but I hadn't fastened the reel over here on this one. And so then I started doing this, and then of course of course it was looking this way, not that way, it was looking this way as I was then. I deliberately just kind of let it go, and it rolled off the front of the projector cart. Well, that was one of those classrooms that had levels, about 3 or 4 levels, like a lecture room or something. And so when that thing rolled off of there, it was just so perfect. It just kept rolling and bouncing down the steps, running clear to the front of the room. And by that time, everybody was laughing and everything, and I was all frustrated looking, and finally I just stomped out and I said, "You do it yourself," and I walked out the door. And so it was all put on, but they didn't know that, and so he got an A on his project, pointing out that how they all laughed at somebody who was having troubles. And so that was that was a real fun time. Then another time, remember I had that little motorcycle. Well, it was a 60cc motorcycle, and I'm going to have to slow down here because I'm telling too many stories, so I'll just pull over here and talk, as long as there ain't no dogs. And so I bought it. It was used and everything, and so I'm riding it around the college, and the clutch cable broke. And I'll put some pictures up. It either broke off on the end or the little connector came off the end. But anyway, so then I had to go down, and I had to go to a motorcycle shop to get it fixed. Now this was back in the 60s. I've got a picture of the Harley shop in the 80s, and that's in Pasco. That was in Pasco, Washington, where my first Harley came from. Only when I got it, it wasn't painted white front. It was real dark and dingy, and it was right across the road, right across the street from the railroad yards. So that's where you went to get your Harley stuff. Well, earlier than that, by about 20 years, there was only one motorcycle shop, and that was the Harley shop down in Bellingham, Washington. And so I could run my little 60cc if I was either on a hill and just push it down the hill and get it going, and then put it in gear and get it going, and then just keep it idling and go through, stop signs and head to the Harley shop, which is what I did. And then I walked in and I showed them, it was one of those Harley shops, back in those days, there was no motorcycle clubs or anything like that. And if the guys that rode Harleys wanted to get together, they all kind of just hung out at the Harley shop. And I remember when I went with my pastor to get his Harley back in the 80s, there was guys with leather jackets on, just kind of leaning against the building there. And of course, in that day, you didn't take your wife and kids in there because of the pictures on the wall. So anyway, so I get down to that Harley shop and I show them. I say, "Do you have something like this?" And they didn't laugh, but I understood that they thought I was joking or something. They says, "No, that's way too small." So what I had to do, and I did, I had to just take it home and mend the end and clean it up really good, get my soldering tip out, and put the little end on, and then solder it, and it was still lasting 20, 30 years later. So that's what I did. But on the way home, I got the only ticket I've ever gotten in my life. And what happened was, when I would come to a stop sign going up the hill, I would just idle through, and there was no cars coming, so then I'd go ahead and go up the hill. And so I went through about 4 stop signs, and then I heard a siren behind me. Now, back in those days, they didn't put rear view mirrors on motorcycles, okay? So there wasn't any mirror on my motorcycle. And that was back in the day when the only mirror in a car was the one in the center of the windshield. They didn't put them on the side until years later. And so that's how things change. And so, so I think he pulls me over, and I got off my bike, and we were talking to this. You know, these, he was on a motorcycle. Okay, he's a motorcycle cop. And he says, you know, these are death machines. And I said, yeah, I know, you know, I know. He said, well, I'm gonna cite you for going through four stop signs and not stopping. And so, so he gave me this ticket. That's the only ticket I've ever gotten in my life, was that guy's ticket. So I had to go to court. And by that time I had my motorcycle fixed, and I went to court, and I explained my case to the judge. And believe it or not, he suspended the whatever it's called. He suspended the fine. But he told me, he said, you get another ticket, you're going to pay for this fine and the next ticket. And I said, yes, sir. And then for the rest of my life, even though I got pulled over one time when I was living in Pasco, it was really cold, and I was trying to get home fast, and I had a friend on the back. And so I got pulled over by the cop, and he said, you know, what's the problem? And I said, well, we're just freezing cold and we want to get home. So he gave me a warning ticket, but that's the only thing, you know, it wasn't really a ticket. So I never got any other tickets in my life. And, but anyway, so that's the story, and that's how the Harley shops were back then. And so anyway, let's see, I told you about the film. I told you about the broken cable, and those are the things that I wanted to talk about today. I've got some more details of working for the college, so maybe on my next video I'll go into some of the other things that happened while I was working for $1 an hour. That's what they paid. No matter what you did, you got $1 an hour. And so that's how I worked my way through college, is doing the audiovisual, working for the janitor, and then in the in the dish room, and that got me my meals. So anyway, I guess that's about all I got to say on this video. I've probably taken too much of your time anyway. So I want to thank you for watching my video, and God bless.